Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's kind of wet outside, and I'm sure that you're all happy to be in here. You didn't like the wait outside to get your card and get drizzle on, but I hope you will enjoy today's activities. There's a red card over there that we would have liked all of you when you have an opportunity to take a photograph next to that. We also want you to take that photograph, to post it on your Facebook page or your Instagram page or Twitter, whatever it is, and ask your friends to sign the red card. It is very important. We need to get this information out of giving the red card to violence against women and girls. Very important in this day and age. At this point, I would like to turn over to Dr. Jibril Diablo. He will make some welcoming remarks.
Good afternoon again. Very happy to have you here, even in these challenging times with the challenge of coronavirus, which is really having a challenge on our work in general. And also the fact that in spite of all the challenges, we as a team have decided that to give a red card to all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls is an idea whose time has come, an idea that cannot be stopped or slowed down by the coronavirus challenge. With that, with the permission of the Deputy Executive Director of the United Nations Fund for Population, I would like respectfully to ask you to stand up, please. And we are going to observe a moment for two dimensions. One, that the challenges of coronavirus be brought under control, and that those who have been affected can have speedy recovery. And then, secondly, that in today's world, it is unacceptable that one woman out of three has been victim of physical or sexual violence in her lifetime. So with that, I'd like to observe a moment of silence. And then after that, you have on your chairs a red card, each one of you. So after that, we will all lift those red cards to say no to all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. We're going to observe this moment of reflection among us first. And now, with your right hand, I would like you to lift the red card as a symbol of your commitment, individually and collectively, to work in the coming 33 months. As of today, there are 33 months before the opening of the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. 33 months. And every day, each and every one of us rededicate ourselves to doing everything possible to wipe out from the face of this earth all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. And by lifting your hands, you're rededicating yourselves to that. So I would like that to be recorded by the photographers and the media. This session is being transmitted worldwide, live. So we have people who are following us. Thank you. You may be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce the moderators for today's session. Two dynamic young women who represent the work that we're doing here. Joël Monlouis, who is a sports law attorney, a pro bono counsel, legal counsel that is, for FIFA, and Nontlanhla Jihan, the director of the South Africa office and representative for SADC for the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network. So I'd like you to come forward and take over and graciously move us in this very important meeting. Welcome, please. Let's welcome the two co-moderators.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and all protocol observed. My name is Nontlanhla Jihan. Mbandeni machali nyami tingaphumi imbunga tiyamila. We welcome you all to the Eden Red Card Campaign Global Launch to give red card to all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. The global launch seeks to achieve a call to action, highlight the objectives we're trying to achieve, uplift and empower women and girls who are discriminated and marginalized. Pledge to drive an end to all forms of violence against women and girls, and stand together in equal light. Without further ado, it is with honor to introduce to you Honorable Constance Newman, Chairman of African Renaissance Diaspora Network, former Assistant Secretary of State for Africa, person with long history of efforts to improve lives of women and their families around the world. Please join me to welcome Honorable Constance Newman.
Good afternoon. And welcome, all protocol observed, to the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network global launch of the RED campaign. I want to begin my few remarks, and Dr. Diallo let me know that it's few. My few remarks by asking you to take a moment and ask yourself the following two questions. The first one, why did I come? Why did I come in the rain? Why did I come away from a good lunch? Just why am I here? The second, when I leave, what should I hope to have accomplished by having been here? I'm going to share with you why I came today. I have 6 reasons. First, to welcome you, and I did that. Second, to be in a place to hear from the speakers who care about injustices against women around the world, and to learn from them the nature of the problems and options for for addressing the issues facing women and their families. My third reason, to understand the role of youth, the role that they've played in the present, will play in the future, to address the concerns about the rights of women and girls, present and future. Another reason, to hear the interests of the audience during the question and answer periods on their concerns and their ideas about ways forward. I want to, as my fifth reason, to witness the signing of agreements by two major international organizations to further advance the Red Card campaign and also promote the 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development Goals. That, among other goals, seeks to empower women who have been traditionally underrepresented or marginalized, leading the way toward creating a world that is more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable. The sixth and final reason, I just want to be sure that everyone here has signed on the line the Red Card Pledge that seeks to give a red card to all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls, but more about that later. At the end of the afternoon, review your reasons. I mean, why did you come again? Why don't you think about that again? And then determine if your expectations were met. At the same time, I'm going to look at my reasons for being here. I strongly believe that I will think that this was a time well spent. It's our fervent hope that your expectations are met. We believe that we've structured the program to meet most expectations and hope that we were right. So to meet my expectation, again, welcome.
Thank you, Connie, for a very welcome. I came today to say enough is enough. Discrimination and violence to women and girls must stop. I'm sure we all here because we want it to stop. Without any further ado, we now call upon Mr. Jibril Diablo, UNFPA Deputy Executive Director, Assistant Secretary General, United Nations. He has over 28 years of experience in providing strategic leadership, advocating program development, and managing operation in complex and challenging environment, largely focusing on Africa. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Diablo.
Mr. Diablo is a great supporter of the actions which are undertaken here, and we want again to, on your behalf, thank you, Mr. Diablo, for all your support to these initiatives whose main objective is to popularize the SDGs in Africa and the diaspora. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction and acknowledgement. And Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I also wish to thank Dr. Jibril and his team for this amazing leadership on the Red Card campaign. UNFPA congratulates the Africa Renaissance and Diaspora Network for arranging this event and inviting all of us here today. We are committed to end all forms of violence against women and girls. And we joined the Red Card campaign to reach 1 million commitments. We move forward with our sights set on Agenda 2030 and a world in which every woman and girl enjoy full equality. A world in which there is no place for femicide, intimate partner violence, human trafficking, rape, and sexual violence, and harassment. A world where women and girls can reach for their dreams without fear and reach their full potential. Today, 1 in every 3 women will suffer physical or sexual violence in her lifetime, most often by someone she knows or loves. 1 in 5 women is sexually abused as a child. We cannot make real progress if 1/2 of humanity continues to be denied their full rights and equal opportunities. All human beings have the right to enjoy equal access to quality education, economic resources, and political participation, as well as equal opportunities for employment, equal pay, and leadership in decision-making at all levels. For UNFPA, the Red Card campaign is a way for advancing our 3 transformative results, especially ending gender-based violence and all harmful practices such as female genital mutilation and child marriage. As the lead UN agency working for sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights, and a leader in addressing gender-based violence, UNFPA reaches millions of women and girls with vital information and life-saving services. UNFPA-supported programs provide information about women's and girls' rights, including the right to live free of violence, abuse, and exploitations. Together with partners, we provide essential medicine supplies, such as post-rape treatment to assist survivors, and psychological support and legal counseling in the pursuit of justice. Last year, the successful Nairobi Summit, which is called ICPD 25, mobilized thousands of commitments to uphold human rights and to end gender-based violence. This year, as we commemorate the 25th anniversary of Beijing Women's Conference, let us expand partnership for women's and girls' rights, including sexual and reproductive health and rights and the power of choice over their bodies. The Red Card campaign will reach millions through the world of sports and soccer. Consistent with the recent calls for equal pay, it is time to end patriarchy and inequality. It is time to give a red card to all forms of violence against women and girls. By promoting women's empowerment and gender equality, we promote progress across all the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and for all humanities. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watorfa, a friend of Eden. And we strongly believe that with our partnership, Red Card campaign will reach out to the world and eradicate the gender equality. And yes, it is time. Dr. Diablo, I will now ask you to do the honors and introduce the next speaker, Honorable Ms. Campbell Barr, First Vice President of Costa Rica.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to acknowledge the presence of His Excellency, the permanent representative of Costa Rica to the United Nations. And this exercise is the result of tremendous efforts, and many of you have made a lot of efforts to be here. I wanted to recognize a number of partners who have continued to support our efforts in this connection. We have 2 representatives of Gainful Solutions, a private sector organization that continues to support us, Ambassador Ranneberger, Michael Ranneberger, and Sohail Nazare Kangarlu here present. I would like also to recognize the presence of Amir Dosal here, who is a co-partner of this initiative. Amir Dosal is here, and also representing Dr. Honorable Jesse Jackson. We have Dr. Jacqueline Jackson here present. Please let us recognize you. And also all the time with us, we have James Gomez, the Director of External Relations of Rainbow Push here present. We have a brother who has been supporting us for a long time, Dr. Malafikete Asante, who is with Afrocentricity, Dr. Gilbert Rochon, the co-chair of the higher education campaign. Also, Olajobi Makinwa, who has been very supportive of all the efforts. Olajobi, you're at the back there. We will not let you off the hook like that. Thank you very much. He's advisor to the President of the General Assembly. And we also have the permanent representative of Trinidad and Tobago here present. We want to also recognize you. And we will continue to recognize partners as we go along. I also have greetings from Fatma Samura, the Secretary General of FIFA, who could not be with us here today. But we're very proud, very honored to have addressing us all the way from San Jose, Costa Rica, the first Vice President of Costa Rica, who is going to give a keynote address as our guest of honor. And this is in recognition of the efforts of the government of Costa Rica to use the convening power of sport and culture to make sure that it ends all gender-based violence, all gender-based discrimination. We're very, very proud to have you, Madam Vice President, addressing us, and we're most grateful that you took time out of your very busy schedule to speak to us today. Over to you, Madam First Vice President.
Good afternoon. I send greetings from the government of Costa Rica, who enthusiastically joins the Red Card campaign to end all forms of discrimination against women and girls. Can you hear me? As Vice President of Costa Rica, and as a woman, I congratulate the extraordinary initiative led by African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, with the support of the government of Costa Rica, Nigeria, the UN system, and FIFA. Greetings from Costa Rica to the permanent mission of Costa Rica, to the accredited delegations, and to the athletes and artists who represent the civil society in the private sector. Football, or soccer, can be an extraordinary school, a tool to end all kinds of discrimination against women and girls. Also those who suffer, those professional players who suffer from racism and discrimination, and those who suffer, that all people suffer. In soccer, the red card means a big violation to the rules of the game. It means that the player has to remove himself from the court. In this context, the campaign tries to give a red card to all forms of discrimination, not only in these sports arenas, but also in all the different arenas. The president and CEO of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, Jibril Diablo, reminded us that 1 out of each 3 women have been victims of physical violence and physical and sexual violence. We approximate that about 35% of women around the world have suffered physical violence, sexual violence on behalf of a romantic partner, or sexual violence by somebody, some other person, at some point in their lives. Nevertheless, some international and national studies show that up to 70% of women have experienced physical and or sexual violence on behalf of their romantic partner. Facts prove that women who have suffered physical or sexual violence on behalf of their romantic partners have higher rates of depression and a greater possibility of going through an abortion, to contract AIDS, than those who have not experienced this type of violence. According to the plurinational study, 4 countries from the Middle East and North Africa, whose results are similar to those of other regions, men who, during their childhood, experienced violence by their father to their mother, have a higher probability of acting in a violent manner towards their romantic partnership during their adult relationships. For example, in Lebanon, the probability of committing violent acts is 3 times greater amongst men who have seen their father strike their mother during their childhood, and also compared to the men who have not experienced that situation. The Red Card campaign would like to have a minimum of 1 million signatures at the redcardpledgepage.com before the FIFA World Soccer Cup. We call all men to join our campaign, to the Red Card campaign against violence against women and girls, but also we're asking them to contribute to changing all behaviors that have been learned and who aim to hurt women and girls. It's indispensable that men have networks to promote and educate respect towards women and towards a peaceful culture, a culture of peace. This is a campaign for peace, for reconciliation amongst people, between women and men. Within this 1 million signatures, we're looking for 1 million people to turn into promoters for the respect towards rights and nonviolence towards women and girls. Red Card towards violence against women and children places at the center of our debate in our society that we have to have zero tolerance towards any kind of expression of violence against women. I would like to join all of those women who have experienced violence to tell them that we are here to continue to defend them and to demand categorically that violence against you, against women, against us needs to end now. Reconciliation and peace based on respect is what we demand, women. Women demand today, women around the world. Red Card is a symbol of saying we have to end violence against women. All women need to join together and try to get more than 1 million signatures so that we can eradicate violence and discrimination against women and girls. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, señora vicepresidenta. Es un honor tener.
Thank you very much, the Vice President. It's a pleasure to have you.
That there's no travel next week regarding CSW 64. The Vice President could not be here, but she graciously agreed to still use modern media communication in order to speak to all of us from the State House in Costa Rica. So I would like you again to give the warmest appreciation to the first Vice President of Costa Rica, F.C. Campbell, for her efforts. That's not enough. Let's make it even warmer, please. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
I have to say that she's great, and it's such an honor for us in Costa Rica to have EPSI as our vice president and always ready for action in defense of not only women and children and girls, but also of all those who are in need of the protection by the state of Costa Rica. And be assured that she'll have this red card ready for whoever transgresses. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have an honorary committee that will be overseeing the work of the Red Card campaign. And the first vice president of Costa Rica is the co-chair of that honorary committee that will take us all the way to the opening ceremony of the FIFA World Cup in November 2022 in Doha, Qatar. So thank you again very much for that support and for being co-chair of that honorary committee, Madam Vice President. Thank you.
Eden Partner, Minister to the Mission of Nigeria, Mr. Mnandi Okechukwu Nze. Thank you.
The Chairperson, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by commending the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, as well as the other organizers of this great event, where we commit ourselves to eliminating all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. While COVID-19 had attempted to disrupt and derail the main activities planned for this year's session of the Commission on the Status of Women, our gathering today is quite auspicious, as it lends us an enviable opportunity to give voice to the bold commitments that would have been expressed in the course of the next 2 weeks in favor of gender equality and women empowerment. In view of this unique opportunity given by this special event, particularly in light of the inability of most women of the world to gather in New York to celebrate womanhood and the girl child in their majestic beauty and splendor, the government of Nigeria is proud to co-sponsor this event. In the spirit of 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, Nigeria stands up to say no and to issue a red card to violence and discrimination against women and girls. More than just issuing a red card, Nigeria also issues a green card for every effort that conduces to the realization of a world where every woman and girl attains her full potential and realizes the full enjoyment of her human rights. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the importance of 2020 in the global march towards gender equality and women's empowerment is not only incontrovertible, but also monumental. 2020 marked the 25th anniversary of the 4th World Conference on Women and the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. 2020 marks the 10th anniversary of the celebration of the UN Women. Again, 2020 also marks the 5th year since the adoption of Agenda 2033 on Sustainable Development, especially as it relates to creating an equal and fair world where no woman or girl is left behind. As a bonus in the battle for the effective advancement of the status of women, 2020 is preceded by 2019, a year that marked the 40th anniversary of the adoption of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, the foundational document for what we are doing today. Specifically, I would like to stress that if we are to succeed in our campaign, we must on the one hand, analyze the drivers of discrimination and violence against women and girls, while we must also, on the other hand, work towards gender equality and women's empowerment. We must carry out both our negative obligations, which consist in avoiding all forms of discriminations and violence against women and girls, as well as our positive and affirmative obligations, which demand that we take concrete steps to promote women's empowerment and ensure the full development and advancement of women and girls for the purpose of guaranteeing them the uninhibited exercise and enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedoms on the basis of the essential equality of all human beings. I am happy to note that Nigeria has witnessed several defining moments in its progress towards gender justice, especially since the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action almost 25 years ago. Within the last 5 years, in particular, the causal links between a more inclusive national development, architecture, and gender mainstreaming have become topical issues in national policy and practice, because Nigeria believes that no country can achieve its maximum developmental potential without fully harnessing the capabilities, the endowment, and competencies of its women, who often constitute more than half the population. As a result, a range of sector-specific gender shifts with significant transformative value have occurred. For instance, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, enacted in 2015, situates women's human rights within an institutional paradigm of freedom from economic, domestic, and other forms of violence. The National Sex Offenders Register, to publicly shame perpetrators and deter sexual violence, was launched on the 25th of November 2019. And Nigeria's second National Action Plan on UNSCR 1325 to promote women, peace, and security is due for review this year. Also, it is gratifying to inform that female involvement has increased as a result of He for She campaign, of which I'm a proud champion. The emergence of more men and boys as champions of gender change has led to specific gains, such as changes in the structure of traditional leadership hierarchies to include women in some communities of the country. Similarly, harmful traditional practices such as female gender mutilation have reduced significantly through the National Zero Tolerance to FGM drive led by the wife of the President of Nigeria, Her Excellency Aisha Mohammed Buhari, and our Ministries of Health and Women Affairs in collaboration with UNHPA. Excellencies, Nigeria's effort at gender equality and women empowerment will be woefully wanting if the issue of sexual and gender-based violence, especially in humanitarian, conflict, and post-conflict situations, was not addressed. We would like to underscore that for us, sexual and GBV against women and girls constitute one of the most brutal manifestations of human rights violations, for which the perpetrators must be held accountable. In this regard, and to counter the fact that gender-based violence is often under-recognized and underreported the world over, the National Center for Women Development, in collaboration with the Office of the Wife of the President, has launched a gender-based violence electronic dashboard. The aim is to improve documentation and set up a mechanism for monitoring and responding to gender-based violence across the country, now to improve prosecution and ensure compensation for victims and their families. Accordingly, Nigeria calls on all to address the effects of armed conflict and post-conflict situations on women and girls, as well as the challenges faced by refugee women and girls. In particular, Nigeria would like to recall the theme of the recently concluded Summit of African Heads of State and Government on silencing the guns. We cannot and should not continue to allow women to be caught up in the vicious cycle of human misery and degradation occasioned by meaningless conflicts and wars. For its part, the Nigerian government continues to do everything within its power to extricate women and girls from these unhealthy situations in order to rehabilitate and resettle them in respect and in dignity. Excellencies, as I conclude, I would like to reaffirm the commitment of the Nigerian government to eliminate discrimination against women and remove all obstacles to equity and equality. Nigeria recognizes that the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action remains a relevant framework in addressing gender inequality and women's advancement. In 12 critical areas of concern, form the nexus of gender equality, and when fully addressed, could fast-track the achievement of equality. Crucially, as we launch this campaign to give a red card against all forms of violence and discrimination against women and girls, I would like to restate my call that we must not only stand against something, we must stand for something. We must not only stand against all forms of violence and against women and girls, we must also stand for gender equality and women's empowerment. On that note, once again, here is my red card to every form of violence and discrimination against women and girls, as well as my green card for gender equality and women's empowerment. I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mze. Mr. Nze, I think you got the wrong card. It is encouraging to see the efforts made and commitment made by Nigeria to stop gender equality. Thank you, Mr. Nze. Our target for today is to reach at least 1,000 pledges, and I'm sure we can all do that. We're currently sitting at around 680 something, but with the House today, I'm sure we can all pledge. Could we all take our cell phones, smartphones, if we all have it? On the red card, on our red card, there is a website, redcardpledge.com. Could we all please pledge, start pledging, and make sure that by the end of the event, at least we have reached 1,000 pledges. That's the challenge for the House today. Next on the item is
Again, you go online, www.redcardpledge.com, and you sign your pledge there. And we need to have at least 1,000 signatures by the end of this session. We're at around 620 or thereabout. So www.redcardpledge.com, as the moderator was mentioning.
Thank you, Dr. Diallo. Next on the item is the video of Dr. Natalia Kanem. She currently serves as the Executive Director of the UNFPA Under Secretary General, United Nations. She is amongst the highest ranking women at the United Nations and the first Latin American woman to head UNFPA. On the screen, we're going to be shown the video. Thank you.
We just a small correction. We have the greetings from Dr. Natalia Kanem, the Executive Director of UNFPA. And in fact, her video is not available. And we have afterwards the video from the Executive Director of UN Habitat. But now we come to your remarks. If you have your schedule, we were going to have the video message from Dr. Natalia Kanem. And that's not there, and we're going to have now the remarks. Yeah? Apologies for the... Yeah.
Okay, she's ready.
No, we have a video. It's a video. We have a video. She comes after the remarks. Look at the schedule, please. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, if you want, we can run the video now because it's ready. But it's just the schedule as it is.
Okay.
Is what we are following, checking against delivery.
Technicality.
Yeah.
I will now would like to introduce Jolie Mon Lewis. She believes that sport is the language to unite people. She believes that without sport, we cannot end the red card campaign. So without further ado, I call her upon the stage.
Thank you very much, Lala, for this very nice presentation. Good afternoon, everyone, all protocol observed. Before I started, I just wanted to say that I am particularly honored to be with you today and for the launch of the Red Card campaign. Donc, nous allons maintenant avoir le plaisir d'entendre le...
We're going to be happy to hear two of our guests regarding this campaign. They were give us the honor to share with us their experience. First of all, I am really delighted to give the speech to Mrs. Laurence Fischer. She's the ambassador of sport for the French Republic, but she has also been a world champion for karate for 3 times, please. And it's really a lot. And also, she created the association Fight for Dignity Association, and that has a very good work for women who are victims of violence when they play in sports. Thank you. Thank you very much, Joël. Hello, everybody. Dear Mr. Dr. Diallo, thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Jibril Diallo. I'm very happy to be invited and to be here with you today. And because, as you mentioned, Joël, I am very influenced by this campaign and this launching. And really, I want to congratulate the whole team. And I'm also very proud to represent the French government and the French Republic that chose me to be involved in for the women equity. And so regarding sport, and when we are athletes, it can be very efficient and very useful to do that. In particular, in my commitment against the violence against women, I was with Dr. Wonumi Kwege in 2014, and he really trusted me, and I was offering him a very important and accessible program to deal with women who were victims of these kinds of wars. And the impact of sports and those young women, these vulnerable young women, it really works, this work that we have done. And so that's why I am here today. And we are very struck by what we will sustain during the big campaign of the Red Card campaign. It has a lot of meaning and is very necessary. I want to tell you also that the French Republic is very involved regarding this topic, and in particular in implying the French Agency for the Development, and it's working very hard regarding sports and development. And we will be also very happy to welcome the Afrique-France summit that will be in Bordeaux in April, and so it will be very happy to welcome in the upcoming in July in Paris, the Forum of Generation Equality 2025. And so I'm very happy to be with you. And I hope there will be overlap the sustaining of this very big campaign. And thank you very much.
World champion, Lawrence Fisher. Our appreciation. And we're exploring the possibility of having Lawrence Fisher as goodwill ambassador for the Red Card campaign because of her commitment to actions which have been really tremendous. So we will be undertaking a series of activities, including having something during the Africa-France Summit in May in Paris. So thank you so much again for your commitment. I want to immediately recognize the presence of a person who has helped us to come to where we are. She's the Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Director of UN Women, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka.
Merci beaucoup, Laurence Fisher.
Thank you very much, Lawrence Fisher, and thank you. And we will go over 1 billion of signatures, hopefully. Et maintenant,
Jan Sorensen, who had a long career in the United Nations and who is actually member of the board of the International Rescue Committee.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. To answer the question, why did I come? I have to say first, I came because Jibril Diablo asked me. We have been good friends and colleagues for many years, and when Jibril asks, you cannot say no. And I was assured when I said yes that whatever he was requesting was something meaningful and important, and if I could possibly be here, I should be. So thank you, Jibril, for your leadership over these many years, and of course for your friendship. I'm honored to be here with the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network. I have to add, I had the great honor of working for one of the great African leaders here, Kofi Annan, for more than a decade, and it was such a privilege. And not only did he love sports, but he also was a feminist. He understood the rights, the needs, the opportunities, and the importance of having women in leadership roles, of appointing them, of respecting them, of involving them in so many ways. So, and he also was very much aware that whatever it is we were trying to do could not be achieved by just diplomats alone. We had to break out of what they called the diplomatic bubble, the walls in this place. We had to reach out. So it is for me very encouraging to know that in the room today we have distinguished leaders from the academic world, from the business world, of course from the world of sports, and I understand that you're involving mayors from around the world, very important as well, and I think that's absolutely right. You are on the mark. Now, I'm not an athlete, but I watch and I follow and I admire and respect those of you who are, and I can remember very well the first time that an athlete of, I think I can say, international stature came into this building, and it was Muhammad Ali, the boxer. And it was way back, it was near the start of my career here. He was strong and well and handsome. And on the 38th floor, where presidents and prime ministers come and go and nobody really looks up, I mean, it's the norm. That day when Muhammad Ali came to visit with the Secretary General, every person on the floor was outside their office, waiting to see him and to express respect and praise and appreciation for all that he did. Not so long after, one other athlete came that I cannot forget. And it was not a soccer player, football, I'm sorry to say. It was a basketball player from the Democratic Republic of Congo named Dikembe Mutombo. Does anyone remember? And he was 7 feet tall, so you could not miss him. And he was the most wonderful spirit. Both Muhammad Ali and Dikembe Mutombo wanted to help the UN do more and go further. And in those days, we didn't have a formal sports program or sports connection, but they were among the first. And the Secretary General was very grateful for them. And from that point, we picked up on the notion of connecting with sports and on from there. Well, I said I'm not an athlete, but I am a feminist, the daughter of a strong and determined mother, and someone who, in my own right, have tried to make a meaningful career. And I understand, as we all do, how important it is that women and girls have health, have rights, have education, hope, and opportunity, that women can have safe birth and birth control available to them, and that they have the opportunity to participate and contribute in the larger world. So I'm very happy that you have your Red Card program, and will certainly carry mine and be ready to raise it at any time. So this is a good start to the program. I know much more is to come in the next couple of years, but thank you, Jibril, for allowing me to be here today, and of course, any way that I can be of help, I'm glad to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gillian, for your message. And now I will give the floor to Dr. Diallo.
Thank you. Ambassador Michael Ranneberger has been a diplomat at the State Department, and also a lot of experience in the private sector. So we just wanted to have some brief comments from you, and then we will go to Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Nguka, who left the meeting in order to be with us here with the youth. So we immediately move on to that. Give us some comments, please.
Friend, someone I admire very highly, and thank you for inviting us. We're delighted we can help support the event. I really come at this from the standpoint of having been a practicing diplomat. I will tell you that I can speak for American diplomats. I think I speak for diplomats generally. Generally, I think feel strongly about this issue. We've administered programs like the Women's Justice and Empowerment Initiative, so I've done that for many years. But now I'm sort of here in a new incarnation as a managing partner, along with my other partner, Mr. Sohel Nazari Kangalo, and we are endeavoring to help governments in Africa and other places, consulting and supporting image. And one of the points we always make is that the importance of reform, the importance of focusing in a positive way on women's issues, empowerment, supporting the Red Card campaign for sure, something we're going to do. We try to promote innovative investment where we seek companies who will invest transparently, who will hire women, and who will treat them appropriately when they're hired. So in that capacity, we're here today. And Jibril, I just want to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Ranneberger, and for your support. And thank you, Sohel Nazari Kangarlu, also for your support. And it's our great honor, our great pleasure to have now the youth segment. Phumzile Mlambo-Nguka is known as the youngest and the most youth-friendly Under-Secretary General at the United Nations. So we would like you to make a statement, and then you lead the youth segment with us. Thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us today. Thank you again, and over to you. Thank you.
For according me the title of an honorary youth. As you get older, you want to subtract your age. When you are younger, you talk about being 9.5 because you want to sound like you are 10 rather than 9. So we appreciate those kind words. Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, I want to congratulate you, my brother, for your persistence and for the attention and the energy you have brought to the RED campaign. It's important to engage with the sporting fraternity because it mobilizes the global community and speaks to youth in a way that other endeavors don't. It unites across national barriers and cultural differences. We don't need interpreters when we deal with sports. It is a powerful tool to convey important messages in a positive and celebratory environment, sometimes highly competitive, but often to mass audiences that many of us envy because in the work that we do, sometimes we struggle to find the masses that will listen to our messages. In 1995, in Beijing, sports was also on the agenda. In the Beijing Platform for Action, sports is explicitly referred to as a lever for gender equality. So you are implementing the Beijing Platform for Action. And 25 years later, as we celebrate and mark the 25 years of implementing the Beijing Platform, UN Women has come a full circle in that we're implementing a campaign called Generation Equality to advance the Beijing Platform and to bring in especially young people into the implementation of the platform, Beijing Platform, to also diversify the stakeholders that are participating in advancing gender equality, because there's a real risk that in the work that we do in gender equality, we are often speaking to ourselves, speaking to the converted, and not therefore broadening the circle of the activists that we so much need. So this work is also about broadening the circle, and I thank you for that. UN Women therefore invites the members of the sport ecosystem to assist us in the Sport for Generation Equality initiative, which aims to accelerate the breaking of the barriers that are limiting gender equality. The Sport for Generation Equality principles are linked to the Beijing Declaration, especially in relation to promoting women's leadership, preventing and responding to gender-based violence, undertaking to close the gap in investment in women's sports and promote equal economic opportunities for women and girls, and to promote equal participation and bias-free representation in the media. We hope we also can provide equal opportunities for girls in sports, physical activity, and physical education. And it is also very important to affirm men and women with disabilities. And I want, therefore, to commend the Equal Light Campaign for bringing attention to the issue of violence against women and girls, and for using sport as an effective means to raise awareness and promote zero tolerance. I have to say, violence against women in sports has been something that has caused us a lot of concern, because women athletes are abused by their coaches, who are supposed to be their protectors, by fellow athletes, and of course by those who manage the sports, who are supposed to provide incentives that encourage them to participate in sport. So we therefore need to look at all these issues and together address them systematically. So thank you so much, Jibril, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Let's give another warmer applause, please, to the Under-Secretary General of the United Nations. Now, we have the engagement of the youth who have been working so hard to be with us. So I would like politely to ask Undersecretary General Phumzile Mlambo Nguka to come forward here, please. And then the Deputy Executive Director of UNFPA here. The youth are going to come over there, from there, and hand over to you the flame of the Red Card campaign that will symbolically be carried for 33 months and handed over to the President of FIFA and to the Secretary General of the United Nations and the USG for UN Women at the opening ceremony of the FIFA World Cup in November 2022. So now over to you, the youth, please. They will hand it over to you. Yeah. And then you lift it together. Yeah. Okay. You all right now? Dakota. What's next? You're coming to give the flame? No, not yet. Okay. No. We have our producer there, Dakota Gant. Please stay. Okay, go ahead.
If someone told me that I run like a girl or I throw like a girl, I'll say, yeah, I run like a girl. I mean, women are strong, women are able-bodied and able to just what men do, if not exceed them, depending on your ability and how hard you work.
Living free from violence is human rights, yet millions of women and girls suffer disproportionately from violence in war, at the ends of the states, and also in the community. Across the globe, women are being beaten, raped, mutilated, and killed with impunity. Gender-based violence stems from failure of the government and the society to recognize human rights of the women. It is rooted in a global culture of discrimination, which denies women their equal rights with men. Every day, all over the world, women are faced with gender-specific persecution, including genital mutilation, sexual slavery, forced prostitution, and domestic violence. At least 1 out of every 3 women worldwide has been beaten.
My name is Amaya Nancy. I currently attend the College of Southern Maryland, and my major is biotechnology. I deserve to be treated equally.
Growing up as a female athlete, you do experience that discrimination where you always hear things like you throw like a girl, or men are expected to be more athletic and more able when it comes to sports, and that's not necessarily true. There are women who are way more able-bodied than some men, and that's just not always seen or recognized.
If I was a man, I would have a better opportunity than if I was right now as being a woman in a man's sport.
Both play the same sport and the skills are just as good as the same. And I feel that the fan base is more better for men's than women's, which I don't get if we're both playing the same sport. You know, we both have good skills, why not come out and support both?
So when it comes to discrimination in sports, especially when you're talking about basketball or soccer, I think there's definitely a disconnect between how women are treated and how men are treated. Usually when you think of a professional sports player, traditionally it might be a man who gets paid more or gets more attention and who's really more in the limelight, and women have traditionally taken a back seat in that regard.
My name is Marnell Jackson, and I'm the head coach of the college in Southern Maryland women's basketball program. In this type of environment, it is tough, but we have to continue to encourage and keep giving them confidence that they are better and that they can compete at the highest level. We also can continue to just have them strive to be the best they can be in the classroom, as well as on the court. We try to just really build their confidence level and get them to understand that they can be successful in whatever they do, just as well as any other man.
I'm just as good as anybody else, regardless of my gender.
Is any man on the court?
My name is Caitlin Clue, and I play women's basketball at the College of Southern Maryland.
My name is Joy Houston, and I'm a basketball athlete.
Support Red Card.
I pledge to support Red Card and ending the violence and discrimination against women in sports.
I pledge to support Red Card.
I pledge to end violence and discrimination against women.
And we are all daughters of the diaspora, reared by the millennium and molded by the tenacity of women that came before us. We as youth were birthed into a generation that possesses a fervent thirst for knowledge and a drive for righteousness. My generation grew up knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that equality in every sense was an inalienable human right to be possessed by all. For us, it was a matter of democracy and the crux for the continued sustainable development of our society. It was never something that could be stripped away or even measured by factors such as race, gender, ethnic caste, disability, or economic standing. Because today's youth is so connected by social media and technology, we have become aware of life far beyond our borders. We have grown to empathize with plights which far surpass our own comprehension, and because of this, we can stand unified across imposed borders. With such connectivity, we became able to examine our own worlds and decide if what is occurring around us is good for all. Because of this, we have also had to face the threat of our own affluence and admit to our own privilege. However, with this acknowledgement comes a choice of great responsibility or willful ignorance. When confronted with something that challenges the basic flow of democracy, we cannot shy away, and we strive to create unity and make enough noise until all who can hear will listen. Confronted with the stark reality that 6 out of the 10 world's poorest women, of the world's poorest people are women, and that economic disparities persist partially because women are subject to ethnic discrimination. We must take pause, and we must wonder, when did the protection of women turn into an option? When did the thought of women around the world, regardless of age, income, or education, become subjugated to sexual, physical, psychological, and economic violence become somebody's issue? When did we accept that it was okay that only 10% of women who faced abuse seek police for help? When will we realize that although we may not be physically beating or limiting or oppressing, that our silence is compliance and contributes to the suffering of millions of women and children across the world? We have decided that this will not be our generation, and that the youth of today, and because we are youth of today, we recognize that it is our duty to dismantle systematic structures of oppression that deny basic human rights on gender. And here's where we will all stand. If you could all take your red cards out, please.
Thank you very much to the youth, and thank you very much to Eugene Adams, Bronx Community College. Thank you for Dakota Gant. And also, we have Stephanie Nailscan here present. She has the Senegalese-American bilingual school in Dakar, Senegal, which is having a big impact on the work in Africa. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
The next video message we will hear comes from Mrs. Moimuna Mohamed Sharif, Executive Director of UN Habitat. Unfortunately, she's not able to be here, but she has expressed unwavering support for the Red Card Campaign initiative and has sent us a message. So I will call on Mr. Chris Williams, the Director of the New York office, to introduce her.
In absentia, Vice President of Costa Rica, distinguished permanent representatives, ambassadors past and present, several past ones here, it's good to see them, and outgoing Undersecretary General from Zila, it was great to see her presentation. Let me begin by thanking Jibril, Jerejef. Very grateful for your efforts and bringing us together for this. I'm going to introduce briefly the Executive Director of UN Habitat, Maimouna Sharif. But before doing so, I just wanted to provide briefly some context to her presentation. She is the Executive Director of the United Nations Human Settlements Program, UN Habitat. And for her and for all of us working with UN Habitat, we recognize that this red card we may have to be using this red card in cities and urban areas more than we are in rural areas. We find that increasingly concentrations of populations shifting to urban areas, which is expected to be 70% of the world's population by 2050, will result in increased violence. So UN Habitat is working significantly to try to work with local governments, with member states, with sport, with activists, with the business community to try to do four basic things. One is to look at safer cities. What are the means by which we can increase safety? How can we look at public spaces, particularly those that are vulnerable to, in which women are extremely vulnerable to violence? How can we look at public service delivery much more systematically so that we are having those services fit for purpose, not leaving women exposed, vulnerable, and in dangerous situations, particularly in the area of sanitation? And lastly, land tenure. Most women do not have access to secure tenure. They are vulnerable to violent forced evictions. They are disproportionately evicted when there are forced evictions. So addressing those, creating policy alternatives to forced evictions are some of the actions that we're trying to promote in our organization. And recently, thanks to the Secretary General, we have developed a system-wide strategy for sustainable urban development, which involves the entire UN system. This is an activity that the Secretary General refers to as a mega trend. Urban is no longer something confined to one UN agency. It is the responsibility of all agencies of the UN system. With those brief comments, I'd like to turn this over to our Executive Director, Maimouna Sharif, in her video address. Thanks very much.
Distinguished delegates, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity to address all of you through this recorded message. I am sorry that I cannot be with you in person, but rest assured that you have my strong support. Let's work to ensure that the noble objective of the Equal Light Red Card campaign are part of UN Habitat's quest to make our cities and communities inclusive. These should be places where women and girls feel safe and have the opportunities to realize their ambitions. To ensure that our cities are safe for all, UN Habitat is working with member states and local governments to ensure that we adopt an integrated planning and design approach. We continue to work with all stakeholders through our Safer Cities and Public Space programs. As a former mayor, I know from personal experience that policy will remain an academic document if it is not followed up by plans and actions on the ground. The best action plans are those that have been developed through a participatory approach. A safer and inclusive city is often built upon gender-sensitive budgeting and planning, where we listen to women and young people to ensure that limited public resources reach the most vulnerable communities. Cities that plan to be inclusive are often the most resilient. They make space for talent to flourish, they attract capital, and they are attractive places to raise a family. They often have public spaces that are designed to enhance crime prevention, promote positive and respectful interaction between women and men, young and old, and girls and boys. We believe that we need to work with local communities to change behavior and attitudes to reduce violence against women and girls in public spaces. Innovation is also a key feature that empowers women and girls, making their perspective of the city count as much as that of men. Design thinking that is solutions-oriented helps translate the needs of mothers for sidewalks that are wide enough to accommodate a stroller. Digital technology also keeps our communities connected and engaged in the design process itself. We also believe that this integrated approach is what makes for a safe, green, and clean city. This will lead to social cohesiveness and wider economic opportunities. UN Habitat's global experience has shown that piecemeal and ad hoc initiatives are not the most effective approach to combating violence against women. In May last year, at the first UN Habitat Assembly, member states adopted the UN system-wide guidelines on safer cities and human settlement and the resolution on achieving gender equality through the work of the UN Habitat to support inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable cities and human settlements. These UN system-wide guidelines allow us the opportunity to accelerate collective actions for the creation of safer cities for women and girls. I am happy to inform you that in support for the Secretary General's 2020 Decade for Action campaign, UN Habitat will roll out 40 days of accelerated advocacy campaigns to highlight innovative solutions to keep communities and cities safe. This 40 days campaign will begin on 21st of September, which marks this year's International Day of Peace, and will end on 31st October, which is World Cities Day. Once again, this campaign supports wider global efforts to reduce by 50% the rate of violent crime globally by 2030. The Equal Light Red Card campaign will certainly be a major boost in these endeavors. This is why UN Habitat is proud to be associated with this global launch of the Equal Light Red Card campaign. For individuals' awareness, mobilization, and action will make a difference. A safer city for women and girls is indeed a safer city for all. This helps to ensure that no one and no place is left behind in this rapidly urbanizing world. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this strong message. We would like to thank warmly UN Habitat for their commitment on the campaign and all the support. Nous allons maintenant avoir le plaisir de faire...
We'll be happy to communicate experience with three guests who are personalities who have contributed a lot and also brought a lot during this campaign. So I am very happy, first of all, to tell you that there will be Mrs. Marie-Paul Roudil. She's the director of the New York office and of UNESCO. Thank you very much. Dear President, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, dear young people, in the name of UNESCO and as the General Director of the UNESCO, who is in Paris, Audrey Azoulay, we are very happy for the UNESCO to be present here with you, and we want to congratulate for the this African Renaissance and Diaspora Network. And what I want to say, fighting against all sorts of discriminations regarding against women and girls. It is also part of the UNESCO in Paris, and it's also the leader among the UNESCO in Paris. And there is an organization that is involved in the physical and sports education system. We work a lot for that, for sports and physical education. We work a lot against discrimination, and we are really in the core of our goal. And so we can only be happy, of course, if by including the African continent. You might be the last big mobilization regarding the virus in New York, and so your initiative helped us to really face the virus, and that's a very important sign, because regarding sports, we have to deal with this virus, and so we have to mobilize against discrimination of women and girls. So really congratulations for this initiative that came from Africa. Regarding NUFAM and UNFPA and all the organizations related to the United Nations, we hope that this Red Card campaign really get a lot of people, and not only young women and teachers, but also young boys, because they are also important for the changing of the perceptions. And so this change is really important for the equality regarding rights equality for young women and women in the world. So I would like to give you three examples of initiatives of the UNESCO that use sports for that. These three examples are really within the objective, the goals of your Red Card campaign. And first of all, the example of cooperation with UN Women regarding Kazan action plan that was adopted by the World Conference of Sports Ministers, and we are studying that in order to do a settlement in Switzerland for physical education of women and to overcome the inequality of regarding women in order to reinforce the equity, gender equity. And this happening in Switzerland that will encourage international initiatives regarding, and that will be based on data. And I hope that the French ambassador will be a bigger relay for this initiative on the continent, which is already at the European and world global level. And we want also to work on a practical guideline regarding girls and women. We hope that Red Card will promote this very important tool for that. But last but not least, we have to underline the importance of physical education and value education through sports, as well as your world global campaign. And so schools are very important and at the core of the application of sports, because it helps to be confident in girls and to transfer the value from men to women, and also to empower girls. So we're working in international partnership on every kind of side to improve the quality of women. And we did with FIFA a football system to improve that. And also I would like to confirm that the UNESCO decided to define regarding the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network that it is a very important opportunity in order to make progress this at the African level. And before the International Day of Women, it's very good to cooperate together against sexism and gender violence, inequality, and it's a very good opportunity in order also to improve the values of sports and to respect gender equity between women and men in the world and also in the world of sports. And with the Red Card, the UNESCO, we really ask you to join us regarding these goals. Thank you very much, Mrs. Roger, for these messages. The second guest we're going to hear, it was really difficult regarding the presentation, because but it's very hard because it doesn't really go in any particularity. So we're going to hear Mr. Jean-Marc Adjovi-Boko, who is a special advisor and general manager of Diambars, and he's also a former football player at the professional level. Thank you, Joël. Also, I don't know if I say almost, if I should say that, but before anything else, what I would like to try to explain to our young people when we are training them, first of all, we train men before training sports players, and I will tell you why I am here today. I was born in Benin, and I left that at 2 years old, and I went to France, and I was in aeronautics to study, and afterwards I became a professional footballer for 13 years in France and also in Scotland. And after that, I was also a captain of the team in the national team of Benin. And then I finished my career for that. And then I went to business school in order to have training structure to help them to make them do that sports and education would be very important. And it was to train the young people and the citizens of the future. And to give you two examples for this success is a young person, Kalibé, who was in Senegal, and he couldn't write, and he was not French, and now he's an electronics engineer in France, and we're very proud of this. And also, it's also one of the pillars of the Paris Saint-Germain team of football. Thanks to this education that we gave him access to, he will become an ambassador at the Unesco. And I will take Idriss Agalagé. I'll talk about that later. He is going to be part of as an ambassador of the UNESCO, and he will be able to return to Africa what Africa made him available to have access to, and regarding education in Africa. The other person I am very proud of today, regarded as a friend, it's Avec Herberg. She's the first godmother of this campaign against violence against women. Avec Herberg, she's the first golden person. She's a person from Norwegia, and she works at the Olympics in Lyon. She plays in France. She's exceptional. She comes from a very exceptional country, rather, from Norwegia, and also Norway, and regarding very important for education and for other things like that. And so regarding two other things, I was nominated about 2 years old. I was a member of the for Africa in France, and I was nominated by Emmanuel Macron, the French president. And in 2018, we organized a launch at the Palace of the Élysée with players of sports and involved in politics and economy, and to see what we could do to develop sports in Africa. Now, I am an advisor of President Talon, who is the president of Benin, and I am an advisor of the Minister of Sports. And in order to improve the development of sports, and that's what we must have achieved. I left Benin, I went to France, I helped President Macron regarding these issues regarding sports in Africa, and now I am an advisor to Talon president in Africa. So I think that's all the contents, what is done by ARDN regarding the role of Africa, and we can play a role where we are from or where we come from. And so that's a very important meaning of this commitment, and I would like really to thank you for this campaign, and we've been knowing each other for 20 years, and what you have been succeeding, you've already been a leader for us, and what you're doing for the world and for women, it's really fantastic. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Jimmy, for this very inspiring course that you mentioned. And so,
Mr. Chris Williams, New York Director of UN Habitat, that we will have the pleasure to listen. No? Okay. So, Dr. Diallo, do you have any comments you would like to make on this session?
No, I think that we have listened to the panelists, we've been adjusting the agenda as we've been going along. So the co-moderators now will take us to the next segment, which is the signature of the MOUs. So you go ahead on the issues and the signatures of the MOUs, please. And first we thank Gordon Tapper, our executive producer. Are you around? Thank you. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you. Yeah. That's it.
Okay. So now I will give the floor respectively to Dr. Cole and Miss Janice Mattis. Indeed, as Dr. Diallo said, we will have the joy to assisting in a few minutes to the signing of two partnerships. And the first one will be between IRDN and the National Council of Negro Women, represented by Dr. Cole, following her statement.
Your Excellencies, my sisters, my brothers, my siblings all, good afternoon. The National Council of Negro Women, known as NCNW, is deeply honored to be a part of this convening that is taking place today. Significantly, 2 days before International Women's Day. I want to acknowledge the presence of NCNW's Executive Director, Attorney Janice L. Mathis. From the continent, the place from which all of us, if we are human, have descended, from Africa, there is a proverb that says this: it does no harm to be grateful. That is why I want to express profound gratitude to all of you and to those who are with us by technology, all of you who are in the struggle against violence against women and girls. I also turn to express my very special gratitude to Honorable Constance B. Newman, Chair of the Board of ARDN. But I also want to do a little bragging, because Honorable Newman is also on the executive committee of the National Council of Negro Women and serves as the chair of finance. To you, my brother who has taken a break. There you are. To you, my very special brother, Dr. Jibril Diablo. Now, he carries many titles, and his work seems to be everywhere. But at this moment, I want to particularly thank him for serving as president and CEO of the African Renaissance Diaspora Network. The two of you, Honorable Newman, dear brother, Dr. Diallo, you have brought us together today for this global launch of the Equal Light Red Card campaign. Now, there's someone else present to whom I owe enormous gratitude, Miss Fannie Munlin, who for years has been the face and the voice of the National Council of Negro Women. here at the United Nations. Fanny Munlin carries on in the tradition of the founder of my organization, Dr. Mary Macleod Bethune. It was Dr. Bethune who established United Nations recognition of NCNW decades ago. As many of you who know your history and her story will attest, Dr. Bethune, along with Walter White of the NAACP and Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, were present in 1945 for the opening conference of what would become the United Nations. Today, 85 years since Dr. Bethune founded NCNW, and since her mentee, Dr. Dorothy Irene Height, led NCNW for 40 years, today, this organization of organizations has a membership of over 2 million women of African descent. NCNW is known for its work in advancing women's rights and civil rights. And I am here to attest to the fact that all of the members of NCNW stand with each of you, stand with everyone in the United States and around the world. We stand with all who are in this struggle to acknowledge, to oppose, and one day to eliminate all discrimination and violence against women and girls. You know, it just may be that giving a red card to the horrific violence against women and girls will get the world's attention. Get the world's attention in ways that other efforts have failed to do. Now, I think that in every nation in our world, there must be a desire to know the sweetness and the power of peace with justice. But in order to know that sweetness and that power, we must reduce and ultimately stop all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. You know, there's another African proverb I want to reference. As I think of the importance of democratizing women's options and occupations, as I think about encouraging women to carry out leadership roles that they are more than capable of carrying out, here is that proverb. It says, when women lead, streams run uphill. NCNW has long supported the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, and my organization, NCNW, welcomes the privilege of popularizing Sustainable Development Goal number 5. Women's equality and empowerment is one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And as you surely know, equality and empowerment of those of us who hold up half the sky is so integral to all dimensions of inclusive and sustainable development. Now, throughout our discussions today, several individuals have noted that there is a long tradition of outstanding women and men in the world of sports who use the playing field or the arena to advocate for political and social justice. Now, let us use the world's most popular sport to turn the world's attention to the rights of women and girls and to ending all forms of discrimination against them. I'm sure there's some who say, sounds good, but the time is not right for doing this. My response comes in the words of the iconic leader of NCNW, Dr. Dorothy Irene Height, who once said, if the times aren't ripe, you have to ripen the times. And so now, my sisters and brothers all, it is my honor to sign a memorandum of understanding between the National Council of Negro Women and the African Renaissance Diaspora Network. With you all, onward to ending violence and all forms of discrimination against women and against girls. Thank you.
Two copies.
Thank you. Do we go to the back? I suspect.
Initial.
We initial.
Just the first page, and then we go to the end.
I am at the end.
Yeah. Give us a folder. Give us the folder. We put it in the folder and hold it up.
Did you sign the other one?
Yeah, I signed it.
I mean, did you switch?
We didn't switch.
Just switch.
Now you need to sign that one.
And then we put it in the folder and lift the folder. No, just one second. Just put it in.
Thank you for leading us through this. All right. And there we are.
No.
Is that better?
Open it. Connie, could you join? Open.
Thank you. Excuse me.
And now it's the international plan.
Yes. The second memorandum of understanding that will be signed today between IRDN and another world-leading organization is the International Planned Parenthood Federation. So we are pleased to welcome Ms. Marie-Eveline Petrus-Barry, Regional Director for Africa, who will make a statement before the signing.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try and make this speech very brief because I know everybody must be tired by now. In any case, Excellencies, dear guests, all protocol observed, I would like to say that I'm very honored to be invited to this launch of the Red Card campaign against violence against women today. I would like to thank Jibril for inviting me and for bringing IPPF into this very important campaign. Why should I be here today? Because I'm a woman, because I'm a woman of African descent, because I'm an African woman, and because my ascendants, and therefore myself, are survivors of a history of violence against women, of a history of abuse, of a history of human trafficking, of a history of deportation, of rape, of forced labor, of extrajudicial killings. My ancestors and myself, and all the women of African descent are survivors of violence against women. And we survived because strong women were there to show us the way, to help us to fight, to help us getting access to a good education, and to ignore prejudice by using our strength to become the African women winners that we should always have been. Our mothers, our grandmothers showed us the way to ensure that future generation of women would not be abused, raped, deported, trafficked, enslaved, or submitted to forced labor. Because of what our ancestors went through, and because we do not want our grandchildren to go through these horrors ever, it is our duty, it is my duty to act to end gender-based and sexually violence-based against women and girls. I would just like to recall a few numbers. At least 200 million women and girls between 15 and 49 years of age have undergone female genital mutilations in more than 30 countries. In most of these countries, the majority of girls were cut before the age of 5. Worldwide, 650 million women and girls were married before the age of 15. Adult women account for nearly half of all human trafficked victims globally. This is why I should be here today. A few more numbers. All African countries prohibit at least one type of gender-based violence, but most countries lack a comprehensive legal framework and response to all forms of violence against women. 3 in 10 African countries have no legal provision against domestic violence, and 3 in 5 African countries do not criminalize marital rape. I think that the Red Card campaign can help to change this. In half of the 54 African countries, more than 1 in 3 girls are married under the age of 18. So, you know, the list goes on, and it's the end of the day. I wouldn't want to give you a long list, but the list goes on. And I think the Red Card campaign can really help to change this. And this is why we must engage. This is why the International Planned Parenthood Federation, that is fighting to protect the rights of women and girls, is committed to this campaign against violence and discrimination against women and girls. IPPF, through its core values of inclusion and diversity, is committed to the achievement of gender equality, which is embedded in sexual and reproductive health and rights. Gender equality is an integral part of the Federation's policies, systems, programs, and structures, and is reflected in both IPPF global indicators and in the member association accreditation system. IPPF has 42 member associations in Africa, and we will make sure that they join this campaign. Just last week, I was launching a campaign against the violence against women and girls in Cape Town, South Africa, with a youth group called Siakwazi. With this campaign, with this red card, we can eradicate violence against women and girls through soccer, particularly through the World Cup, one of the most important communication and media sports events worldwide. We can make a difference and get the youth of the world to join to ensure that we put an end to violence against women. Although, and it's been said by many of you here, sports have been traditionally gender biased. But women have become so good at some sports, and at soccer particularly, that men are now recognizing that they can be strong. And the last soccer cup, men and women equally were in front of their TV or in the stadiums to watch this soccer World Cup of women. So I think through sport, despite the discrimination that is still going on in salaries and in many other ways, we can end violence against women. This campaign is a call for equity and justice. It's a call for the end of discrimination. It's a call for the end of gender-based violence. And as our fellow African Americans were saying during the civil rights movement, with this red card, we shall overcome. And we will be free at last. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marie-Evelyn, for this message. So I think that we can proceed to the signature.
I've got them.
Oh, you want this one?
No, you have a special pen.
Oh, you have a special pen.
Yeah.
Everything is special today. So I should parle there?
Yeah. At the beginning, and then we go to the end. Sign at the end.
Là,
Oui.
seulement?
Puis on va à la fin.
Okay.
We go toward the end of the document.
Oh, merci. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria.
Pardon, pourtant j'ai fait tellement ça.
In front, not behind the.
Oh, I haven't signed that one.
So we come out here, right? And on avance. Soit devant de l'autre côté du public.
On va faire ça. Merci.
We're going to do that.
From the United Nations Correspondents Association.
No picture and expression? No. Okay. So may I ask speakers step down from the podium and sit in the seats in the front, reserved for you? Oui, ils peuvent s'installer là. So we will now see a video about a protest movement that started in Chile and has been picked up all over the world. So could you please launch the video, Violador and Tucamino, please?
El patriarcado es un juez que nos juzga por nacer y nuestro castigo es la violencia que no ves. El patriarcado es un juez que nos juzga por nacer y nuestro castigo es la violencia que ya ves. Es femicidio.
As you see, the message conveyed by this video is very strong and reminds us that there are no isolated or small actions on this subject, but a global action and a common cause shared by all over the world. Now we will be hearing from 4 individuals or 3, I'm not sure, who have been working for the upliftment of people and in particular people of African descent around the world, and they will share their experiences with us. He's not here. Okay, so I invite Mr. Roshan Sherry, Mr. David Wilkinson, and Miss Dorothy Tucker to take their seat at the podium. Only Russian? Okay. So, Roshan, it seems that you will have the floor for you. Can you stay here?
So, good afternoon. I'm so honored to see all of you, the distinguished guests, excellencies, stakeholders from around the world, and looking at the red card. Can I just have one of the red card? I believe this red card is the power that we are getting today. I believe this is the power. In the football match, the referee lifts this up and says, "That's it, you are out." So what is out today? The discrimination, the violence. I mean, the videos we saw just now, it's so shaking, you know? It's so shaking. Like, I come from the business sector, the private sector. We meet business meetings, and we keep going on, but we never understand the discrimination, what's happening. If you have darkness, the way you remove darkness is switching on the light. So today I just want to switch on the light. This is the button. And I want to really appreciate Dr. Jibril, what you're doing to get this whole set of people from around the world, giving us the power for switching on that light. So today when we switch on this red card on the website, we're honoring the light. So darkness is removed. With that, I thank the distinguished guest. And to me, when I see a woman, with all the women in this place, you guys are the flowers, you guys are the roses, the beauty in this earth. We don't say men are not beautiful, but women are beautiful, the roses. It depends on how you treat a rose. You can crush it, or you can keep it among the green, the field. The world is the field, and the grass is the whole territory. But imagine if you don't have the flowers in the field, how bad it looks. So these are the women. These are the roses. These are the beautiful ones. And I think the men need to recognize that. Men need to recognize the beauty that a woman carries in that garden. So when we speak about the private sector, so I come from Qatar, and we just have 33 months for this light to be on, for this red card challenge. In 33 months, can we really take it as a challenge to get every darkness against discrimination, against women, to be removed? That's a question. That's a question. So in the private sector, we have this, the phenomena of how we can include. So when we say we want to bring the light in the private sector, I think if we as stakeholders, as ambassadors, as sports personalities, as business owners, we need to give more opportunities. So I have this 4-question audit which we need to think about. 4 things practical in any business sector that we need to implement from today when you launch this globally. Number one is equal pay. Equal pay for men and equal pay for women. And that is what I stand for. I stand for that. There's no difference between man and women. The only thing is they're uniquely different. They're uniquely gifted. A man is a driver. A woman is a thread in the driver. Without a woman, a man can't stay in the peg. So it's a combination. Equal employment opportunities in a business sector. When people announce jobs, they need to have equal opportunity for men and women in the private sector. The third, the leadership. CEOs, COOs, managers should be women. And we need to have equal representation of position leadership in every business organization. And CSR activities. A certain amount of funding should be kept for women empowerment, women education. If we can follow the four principles, the four golden principles I'm laying down in business sector, we will bring light. This is the switch to switch on that light. And I want to thank you, Dr. Jibril, again, to reigniting the fire in us, to have these 33 months, to switch on this red card campaign, and let's bring the light. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roshan, for this inspirational message. So, as you know, every good thing has a end, and that's the end of the road for me. I wanted to thank all of you for adding something very special to this meeting. And we will now hear from the Equal Light Red Campaign panel, which will be moderated by Lala.
Thank you, Julie. The topic is very close to my heart, and I would like to call to the panel Dr. Elizabeth Strobel, Chancellor from Webster University, to join the podium, please. Dr. Leslie Baskerville, President, National Association for Equal Opportunity in Higher Education. Mr. Makasuba, Senior Director of African Operation Legendary Sports. And Mr. Jibril Diablo, Manager General de la Fière Management Sport. It would have been a great pleasure to have our Mr. Roshan Cherry as well to join the podium. His remarks really speak to and addresses the challenges that we're facing, and I'm sure that he would contribute so much to the discussion today. He's still here? Gone. Okay.
Just in the place of the previous speaker, I'd like to recognize the presence of Mr. Oscar Gamboa, who is from Colombia, the Executive Director of the Global Alliance of Mayors and Leaders from Africa and the Diaspora. Maybe you could join us just for a few words, please, on the panel. Oscar Gamboa.
Mr. Oscar, thank you.
And all the way from Costa Rica, former mayor of a major city in Costa Rica, Yelgi Verley, as well. I want to recognize your presence here, traveled all the way from Costa Rica. Yelgi, please.
Thank you very much. The first question that I would like to ask is, if women and girls are educated or successful, in every areas of they seem to be discriminated. There's exclusions. Why is that? And what are the trends? How do we solve the problem? Could I please have Dr. Elizabeth Strobel to make a remark, please?
Thank you. Oh, microphone on. Thank you so much. It is wonderful to be part of the bread launch. I am honored to be the chancellor of a university based in St. Louis, Missouri, but in the world, including Accra, Ghana, that was founded by women for women in 1915. And certainly at that time, at the turn of that century, women were excluded from bachelor's degrees right in St. Louis, Missouri, because there was not a college that admitted them. So it's part of the history of my institution to expand opportunities and to include women. And to this day, I am very proud that at Webster University and among our 12,000 students, 56% of those students are women, and women exist throughout the university at all levels of leadership, from the chancellor on down, and from leadership of student government all the way up. And so my obligation, and that of my colleagues at Webster University, is to expand the opportunities for women to get a college education, because absent that education, their families, their communities, their nations will not prosper.
Thank you very much, Dr. Strobel. Could I please ask Mr. Oscar to please make some remarks?
Thank you so much, Dr. Diallo. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here in New York in this such a historic event, and a warm greet from Colombia, South America. I feel very proud to say you that when I was advisor of the President of Colombia 8 years ago, I promote the approval of a law that forbidding and penalize any kind of discrimination in Colombia, not only for skin color, but to women and to foreign people. With Dr. Diallo, we have been working very hard since we carried out in Colombia the worldwide summit of mayors and leaders, African and African descendant. And the executive director today of the National Association of Black Mayors in Colombia, about 150 mayors, working very hard for inclusion in the middle of the difficulties we have because of the coca crops. More than 60% crops in African descendant territories. You can imagine the challenges we have there. But anyway, we are here saying to you, this card will be up today and forever against racism and against the violence against women and kids. I'm a soldier of this marvelous campaign. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Could I please have the remarks from Mr. Makasuba?
Merci. Thank you. I would also like to thank you, Dr. Jibril Diablo, for giving us this splendid opportunity today as part of this wonderful campaign, which concerns all of us. I am from the country of Mali, where in 2018, we identified 9,000 cases of violence against women at home. I live in France, and in France last year, statistics show that a woman was killed every 3 days. That means 100 women per year. And that's in a developed country such as France. So this is a problem that concerns all of us and that we live with day to day. And also there's the exclusion of women on a day-to-day basis just about everywhere in the world, especially as regards leadership positions. I work in the private sector in a large company, and we had a corporate committee meeting today, and we were talking about the problem of representation of women, because there was a law that was adopted that says that based on the representation or the ratio of men to women in companies, well, if you don't respect the representation, you have to pay fines if there's not equal representation. So we need to make things move forward. And in 2020, we have to have campaigns like this, like the Red Card campaign, in order to raise awareness. It's really incredible. We still need to have this kind of campaign, but we do. And I think that each one of us needs to play a role in day-to-day life through simple gestures by raising awareness. Because I think that equality will be achieved through awareness raising, through education, by educating children, because today's children are tomorrow's adults, by underlining the importance of gender equality. That's what I wanted to say.
Makasuba est un grand leader.
Mr Makasuba is a major leader who's joined the private sector through sport, and he's taken part in this initiative for more than 2 years. And I thank you for all of your support by mobilizing the private sector and this Red Card campaign. Thank you very much.
Dale. Over to you, Mr. Aduyale. Abdullah. Apologies for that.
Merci. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Jibril Diablo, who gave me the honor of speaking to you here today. It's an even greater honor knowing that I'm surrounded by so many other people who have the same commitment to end discrimination and violence against women. So, as you all know, investing in human capital is so important. That's what guarantees sustainable development. And it starts with education. If we educate our daughters, if we educate our societies, I think that will have a positive impact in eliminating this discrimination against all women and even girls. So I'm from sub-Saharan Africa. I'm from the same country as my friend here. And there's also the problem of an unequal share of labor done at home. And so many girls are told to stay at home and to do housework to help their families rather than going to school. And early marriage and illiteracy and even genital mutilation. Women who have been continuing this practice of FGM often haven't been made aware of the harmful impacts. And there's also sexual education and sports education that's so important. So we have a slogan that's very inclusive, so that girls participate in sports. So we encourage girls to take part not just in sports, but also in the administration of sports. And we're people who promote participation of girls and women in sports in order to end violence against women and girls. And this next August we'll be adopting a law to protect minors, and there's laws governing football and its place in education, and those are part of our day-to-day concepts. And so if we're here this evening, it's to show our commitment to allow girls to have access to education and to allow women to have full participation on an equal basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now open the questions for the floor. To the floor, is there anyone who has questions to the panel? We'll take three questions, please. There's one. Do we have another questions? Two. Okay. Recognized. Okay, thank you. We'll start from this side.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jadea Spencer. I represent the International Youth Leadership Institute. And so we are based here in the United States, but we're dedicated to nurturing a new generation of leaders from the African diaspora. And we facilitate leadership and opportunities for Black youth in the United States and across the Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean to travel to countries to get to learn from our leaders across the diaspora. And so one thing that we have observed, especially in the past few years, is that sports absolutely is a tool that brings people together. It absolutely is something that youth especially can look up to, marginalized youth everywhere who may not even be able to see themselves as doctors and lawyers yet understand that maybe if I work hard, I can become like a football player, a basketball player. The question that I have to ask is, what do you see? And this is for all the panelists, like what pathways do you see for young people to get involved in mentorship, to get involved in actually helping to facilitate some aspects of this? Like, how do you see youth being a part of this this fight for, one, gender equality, but two, leveraging sports to bring people together? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I ask a question, ma'am?
Hello. It was working. My name is Angèle Ventuga-Lodnier. I'm originally from Cameroon, but I was born in France, and I live here in the United States. I'm a TV producer, and I'm working on an awareness campaign about modern slavery beyond borders. So I live here in New York. My question is for you two. You spoke about forced marriage and mutilation. Women genital mutilation. Do you think that this can really change? Because last year I was attending the CW63 with the government of Mali, and they spoke about something you did that is at the school of how do you say, husband? And they were saying that it is something like traditional. So I don't know, can you think that this can really change, or what can we do about this?
Thank you. And the last question, please, from the gentleman at the back.
Right here. Hi, how are you? My name is Lillard Lewis from Food Incorporated. My question is to the panel on the business side of things. You know, there are some $1 trillion to $2 trillion of assets under management in our market today, which are under some sort of shareholder mandate to guide themselves toward what's called ESG, which is environmental, social justice, and governance. And so my question is, how can we, as a group, and how can everyday advocates begin to reach more into the business side of things to kind of coax out responses from corporations to follow some of these mandates, which obviously their shareholders have put them under. There are a ton of assets under management, and I believe that part of this red card campaign needs to be holding corporations accountable. And there are already mechanisms in place right now in the form of shareholder mandates, in the form of consumer mandates. We need to find more innovative and direct ways of getting a hold of these ears of the CEOs and the board chairs and the board of directors to pay attention to what the shareholders are actually telling them. and demanding of them. So how can we as business owners begin to innovate in that way?
Okay, thank you. Could I please ask Dr. Scrubble to answer the question on the youth? The two gentlemen on their forced marriage and women mutualization question, and Mr. Oscar on the business question that was just asked now. Thank you.
I thank you for affirming the power of youth and sports to come together, and what a significant force it will be for the Sustainable Development Goals if youth are empowered to lead the way and not, as was said earlier this morning at the celebration of the International Day of Women, for youth not to wait for the torch to be passed to them to start leading now. And I would agree with you that the kind of mentoring that can be done by current college students and by leadership on college campuses everywhere, here in the United States as well as around the world, and in partnership with organizations like yours, is highly important, that it not wait until people are in positions of employment to start advocating for a shared humanity and a shared commitment to all the Sustainable Development Goals, because absent that, I don't think we will make progress. So on our campus, I certainly know that our student athletes, we're a Division III school, so that means that our athletes are fine students and they're very committed to their community. They do outreach right now to young people to try to bring them not only into the world of sports and achievement, but also to understand their responsibility to give back to their community. And if you see an opportunity for Webster to partner with your organization, I would be very welcome to learn more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a point of order. It's 2 minutes past 6 o'clock now. We have difficulty with the time because the session was supposed to end at 6. And we take note of the questions that have been asked, and we will try to deal with them bilaterally, because I don't want to do violence again to two guests who have come specially here. One is to bring out the cultural dimension of our work. So we will give 2 minutes doing violence to her, but it's better than not having anything. An artist and activist from Boston, Zakia Sutton, to really come and do an a cappella for us, please, now. Zakia.
Good afternoon, everyone. To reiterate, my name is Zakia Sutton. I come to you all from Boston. It is lovely to be here today. I'm honored both as a woman and a member of the African diaspora, and as a youth, if you'd qualify me as that, depending on where you stand. I want to say that I'm here today because where there is change, there is music. And where there is music, there is change. And so I have to bring all those pieces together. Now, there was a technical issue with my track, but I insisted on doing this a cappella for you guys because I thought, what message would that send if I said I wasn't going to share an important message because it wasn't convenient enough? So we can't start off that way for the Red Card campaign, can we? So now we're going to test our unity together because I'm going to need you guys to clap for me for the beat. We're going to see if we can work in unison. This has become a whole new exercise for us. So are you able to clap for me? So this song is called Hip Opera. I'm an opera singer who also loves contemporary music, and I didn't want to compromise any parts of myself to do that. Okay, ready? No, no, I'm not number one because I'm in my own category. The perfect blend of evidence and allegory. The perfect supplement to this triumphant story of black journalists and its ascent to glory. Academics like to call it double consciousness. I call it melanin-induced confidence. I call it representing every continent and making sure those asleep are now cognizant. Not really irreparable limits don't occur to me. Graduated first, Rip Shop University. They're trying to figure out which box to put me in. I told them pick anyone and I'll make it bend. Whether in the ghetto or at the symphony. I carry my naps like wives carry Tiffany. They call it inappropriate, I call it history. Making black as legit as Becky's sanctity. This for my people that twerk but still read. This for my posse that's bright but smoke. This for them eyes too limited to see. The black is just as Michelle as Cardi B. The black is just as Lupita as it is me. The black never gets in with the keys. That before we can grow, we must receive all the forms we're blessed to conceive. Keep going. Let your tongue form the smooth sounds of ebonics. And when they ask why, I tell them that your culture's chronic. Sicker than the flu, but even better yet iconic. Unlike the people trying to copy it. How ironic. If ethnic ain't professional enough for the corporate, don't assimilate. Instead, readjust the orbit. Put your fro in the center of it and absorb it. And come wash day, throw that ish in the toilet. And yes, just as real eyes realize, recognize that Negro eyes. Put respectability politics aside and replace it with the strong stride of black pride. As your ears consume this opera mixed with rap, know what the world is lacking and then fill the gap. Now grab your neighbor's hand and join in as we make a pact to never let our wish to fit and compromise a black. To never. I know my history is excellence personified. If I do embrace it, then that greatness will be multiplied. Promise to reach out to my brethren who forgo the mission. Because they're scared of darkness, give it a new definition. I know black was made to represent all that's bad and evil. Only because power this profound had to be illegal. Attempts to subdue my spirit are enacted violence. I speak loud for every long century, my voice was silenced. When I say red card, y'all say campaign. Red card, red card. When I say the red card, y'all say campaign. The red card, the red card. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Zakia Sutton, and thank you very much, Charles Fisher, for bringing Zakia here. And we have very quickly another powerful group. Go ahead, Nontantla.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? We are very happy to be here. I'm part of the group called Ikram and the Immigrant Groove. And I want to say how excited I am to be a part of this mission, too, because when I was 13, I was at the UN, and I actually sang a song called No to Discrimination. Now I moved here when I was 13, and then 7 years later, a friend and I started a company called Venmo, where people could pay each other as a way for people to support music. And now I'm here in front of you all today to sing a song called One Nation with my brother Marlon, Jess, Mamadou, and Nathan.
You want it, bro?
You know what I'm going to do? Would you all be up for standing up one more time and holding the card up?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And you got the video? So I can put it on my social media.
I'll stand with you.
Ooh.
Take it away, brother.
Yeah. No time for waiting. No more time for waiting. Love shine every nature. Let's all be free. Everybody together. No more time for waiting. Love shine every nature. Let's all be free. Everybody together.
We gotta be conscious of the world that we're living in. We gotta be conscious of the people that we're bringing in. Love you like your mama, love you like your papa. The color of your skin don't mean a thing. We gotta give children the notion that they don't have to discriminate. We gotta give children the notion that they don't have to hate to be great. One nation,
everybody together. No more time for waiting. Love shine every nation. Let's all be free. Everybody together. No more time for waiting. Love shine every nation. Let's all be free. Everybody together.
We gotta be nice to our people, this is common ground. We gotta be nice when our strangers knock for love. Love your daughter, love your godson. If a sister's in trouble, won't you help her out? We gotta give children the notion that they don't have to discriminate. We gotta give children the notion that they don't have to hate to be great. One nation,
everybody together. No more time for waiting. Love shine every nation. Let's all be free. Everybody together. No more time for waiting. Love shine every nation. Let's all be free. Everybody together.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to thank our friend from Zimbabwe, from Trinidad,
Thank you.
from Ghana, and from Senegal, and from Upper Side New York City. Ikram and the.
Thank you. Please, thank you. We're going to close the meeting properly, please. I was supposed to make a closing statement. I would like to give that short statement to the former president of the National Association of Black Journalists, Sarah Glover, here present. She was a two-time president of the National Association of Black Journalists, 4,129 members, and is a key partner of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network. So to make the closing statement, Sarah Glover, former president of NABJ, in my stead. Sarah, please, you have the floor. This is the closing statement.
Good evening. Dearest Jibril, thank you so much. I'm humbled that you acknowledged me, and certainly running here just coming from work. So it's good to see everyone. I'm glad that I was able to come out to support. This program means so much. The Red Card campaign, I grabbed as many as I could because I'm going to hold it up and share it with as many people as I can. And how important for this to be launching in Women's History Month. This campaign means so much, not just to women who have experienced hate, assault, something physical, but many women across the world are the subject of emotional abuse as well, right? And also the subject of economic abuse as well, right? That the woman is so important to the family and to the community and to the stability of our future, which is the next generation. And so that the work that you all have come together to do to draw attention to the issues and to elevate women is quite phenomenal. I'm honored to be here this evening, and obviously whatever I can do as an individual, I pledge my support. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the coalition of people that you always bring together, Jibril, is that yes, you at some point in time will represent an organization or your own organization, but the power and change is that you're an individual. And as an individual that you can ignite change right in your own desk, coworker, cohort, right on your street with your neighbors, right in your community, whether it's the street or the county or the country that you're from, and you can inspire people across borders, across, byways, highways, and ponds. We're all in this together. The diaspora is alive and well, and we're here to support one another. So it's so good to see people out in the audience tonight that I know. And the beautiful thing about the United Nations and the work that you do, Jibril, in these programs is that you're bringing people together, and that how collaboration is at the center of progress and change. So quite frankly, to read the red card, if I could, to all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls, and that this campaign and this program is going to work to alleviate all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. In doing that, in that simple statement, what you're doing is you are, in fact, solidifying a brighter future, because the mothers of our society, the women of our society, the girls of our society play such a pivotal role, and we're here not just to be leaders, but to support our brothers, our men in the community as well. And that's the beautiful thing about this campaign, is drawing the attention to how important the role of a woman is in society. So congratulations to everyone in the work that you're doing, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this great work. And whatever I can do, from this point forward, I'm here to support and do the good work that you all have started. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah Glover, for all your support. That brings us to the end of this global launch of the ARDN Red Card campaign. Before closing, I would like to express my appreciation to the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, who has always been very supportive of all the work that we've been doing, because this campaign is part of what we call the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network's popularization of the Sustainable Development Goals, that is, pathway to solutions. And that wouldn't have been done without the guidance, the time spent by the chair of our board, Ms. Constance Newman, here present. We want to thank you again, Connie, for really being with us and supporting us so well. But also, let's say that, please, yeah. Also, I know time is limited, but at the same time, we need to do things properly, as we do at the United Nations, as we do around the world. The staff that you see around have been working so hard to make these things happen, and they're doing it on a voluntary basis. So I want you to really give a big, warm thank you to the staff of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network who have been working so hard. And with that, you need to make sure that before you leave this room, that you sign the pledge. If you have not done so, please sign the pledge, www.redcardpledge.com. And we look forward to staying in touch for the next 33 months to get at least 1 million signatures, because at the opening ceremony of the FIFA World Cup in November 2022, with Lawrence Fisher, Jimmy Ajovi Boko, and everybody here, we want to make sure that we show at least 1 million signatures to say that the international community has set zero tolerance towards all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. This is an idea whose time has come, and we need to make sure that it happens. It happens by using the convening power of sport and culture to make it happen. Thank you very much, and that closes the conference.